Hey everybody, I am Carrie Hoffmeister with my show Carry On Abundant TV. First, I just want to say thank you so much for your support in my new show. I am only on week 4 and you have already made it the top 5 most watched on Abundant TV, and I am so grateful for your support. Some of you are in friends and family, but a lot of you I don't even know. So thank you for believing in me and supporting me and enjoying the content to my show. So I wanted to explain a little bit about what I wanted Carry On to be, and also introduce my next guest. So Carry On, as you know, I have already interviewed people like Raymond Arroyo, Ginger Duggar-Buono, Pepper Basham, who you saw last week. And this week I have a super awesome guest as well. But there's really no theme to who or what type of people that I interview or have on the show. Sometimes you will see some in-person interviews, which are going to be really fun and personable. But a lot of times you're going to see these Zoom interviews with just people who are real. And yes, they may be authors, they may be musicians, very well-known people that we know. But I just want to have people on that are just like me and you and have stories just like me and you to show, one, we're all human and we all struggle. And just how good God is and how he uses everything that we've been through for good. And this next guest really, really shows that, and I am super excited about it. The next guest that I have, this is going to be an hour-long special. We normally do 30 minutes, but just because we really felt like God was leading in this interview and that this needed to be told. And I know that there is somebody out there, even if it's just one person, that needs to hear this. So this will be an hour-long special, but please watch the whole thing. I promise you, it's so good. The first part, we get kind of sad and we talk about some traumatic things, but the second part is fun and you see a totally different side. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you who I'm going to have on. He is a Christian musician, a singer-songwriter, and his name is Ryan Ellis. And you may know him by his very popular song, Heart of the Father, which plays in my car all the time and I love. But Ryan has a really awesome testimony. And I kind of wanted to tell a little bit of the background of how this interview came about, but also how God opened the doors for this to happen to be an hour-long interview. Because normally when I schedule these interviews, I schedule for a half-hour period because what you see is what you get. We don't really edit these. I schedule 30 minutes and that's it. And that's what I did. I actually had to, I had scheduled this interview for 1:30 on a Friday. I'm just going to be totally real with you about what was going on. And right after my interview was supposed to be done at 2 o'clock, I was actually supposed to go to the bank to get a cashier's check because we were supposed to be closing on our house. Yay, super exciting. And then I was supposed to go pick up my stepdaughter from school, and I really didn't have the time for an hour-long interview. I'm just going to be honest. I was doing some research on this artist, Ryan, and I'd found a couple things in his bio that, to be honest with you, I started crying. And it had touched me so much. I knew that I wanted this to be told, but I hadn't asked before. When I was asked, what was this interview going to be about? I didn't mention these things, and I wanted to make sure that he was going to be comfortable talking about them. But I also knew, I felt like God was telling me this interview is going to be almost an hour. And I thought, I don't even know if I have an hour. I don't even know if I'm allowed to do an hour. And I don't personally have an hour. So I reached out to Rob, my producer, and I said, hey, is 30 minutes my max? And he was like, well, if you can stretch it to 58, we can give you an hour-long special. And I was like, okay, but I don't even know if I have the time. And I want to say about 5 minutes before I had to hop on this interview, our realtor texted us and said, hey, we have to postpone just a couple days. No big deal, but we're not going to be able to close on a certain date. So I didn't have to go to the bank. And I was like, God is opening the door for this to happen. And Ryan got on. And before we started, recording, I asked him, hey, I found this and I really want to talk about this. I think that people really need to hear this and that it could really touch some people. And he said, you know what, let's do it. Whatever you want to ask me is fine. God led. And This interview is incredible, and we didn't edit it. And I wanted you to see everything because I wanted you to see just the realness of who this person is and the raw authenticity of who this person is. What you see is what you get. I still am amazed watching this back. Just how good God is through everything, but just how he's blessing me through the show and the people that I get to talk to, and how these people not only bless you, but they bless me. And I just get to do what I love to do, which is talk. And I love music, and being able to interview some of my favorite artists is just a dream come true. But hearing their stories and seeing who they really are as people and how they struggle just like me and you is just amazing. And so I really hope that you watch this whole interview. I know it's long, and you probably maybe already tuned me out, and I hope you didn't. But just watch it. I promise you, you will get a blessing out of it. And you may shed a tear or two, and you may laugh a little too. So right now, go grab your snacks, go grab your favorite cherry Coke or whatever it is, get your popcorn, get your friends, get your family, everybody, call them up, tell them to watch, because this is going to be an interview that you don't want to miss. So now that you got to hear me talk for that long, I want to introduce my interview with Ryan Ellis. And again, thank you for watching and supporting me. I appreciate it so, so much. And until next time, carry on. Hey everybody, this is Carrie Hoffmeister with Carrie on Abundant TV. Today I am super excited to have my guest on that I have. He is a songwriter, a singer. He has an amazing testimony that I was reading today, and have my tissues nearby. And if you have some, you might want actually, I don't have tissues, I have toilet paper. So if you have some, you might want to grab them. But let's welcome Ryan Ellis to the show today. Welcome, Ryan. Thanks for being on today.
Carrie, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's so awesome to have you on. I'm obsessed with your song, Heart of the Father.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, that song has been around for almost 5 years already. I mean, we released it, but it's been in our community for a long time. So that song's been standing the test of time, It's been good.
It is. It's on all the time. I still hear it all the time. You have an incredible voice. You have a lot of music out there too that I didn't realize. So you guys will definitely have to check them out after this. But we're going to start our show with what we call carry on the questions. We're going to do some rapid fire questions so that you all can get to know him a little bit better with some things that we wouldn't normally ask him. So, all right, are you ready? Because these are going to be like quick things that are going to make you think.
I'm ready. Let's get it.
Maybe a trick question in there, just letting you know. So, okay. All right, let's go. What is your favorite color?
Blue.
What was your first job?
My first job was working at McDonald's.
What is your favorite season?
Summer.
What was your favorite subject in school?
Math.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in San Diego.
Where do you live now?
I live in Orange County.
Describe your style in one word.
Oh man, how do you say like swaggy?
Okay, I like it. I like it. That's accurate. One subject you would like to learn more about.
I would like to learn another language.
Oh, that's good. What is one thing you regret spending money on?
Everything.
What are you most looking forward to?
Music, making new music.
What never fails to make you laugh?
My family, my kids, my wife.
Oh. Are you more of an introvert or extrovert?
I'm an introvert with extrovert needs.
Okay. Do you prefer driving or flying?
Oh, I like flying. Flying's nice.
Are you
These
more of a thinker?
responses.
What? What? I know
I'm sorry.
these are random. Are you more of a thinker or a doer?
I'm a thinker.
I was gonna say you're a thinker because you're thinking about these questions.
I know I'm not very.
Cannonball into the pool or dip a toe in first?
Cannonball.
What was your last impulse buy?
Whew.
Did that?
Like, what is this? Chevy Corvair. It
Oh,
was like
nice.
a 65
What
Chevy.
was what?
The old like muscle car that I just bought.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. What was your last Google search?
This TV show actually.
That's so funny. Have you ever planned a prank months in advance?
No, I'm not a prankster. I
No?
don't.
You don't do that. Are you okay if you're being pranked?
Yeah, I get pranked all the time. My kids, my wife, they love to prank
Oh,
me.
what is the best advice you've ever received?
The grass is greener where you water it.
Ooh, that's good. What do you wish you learned sooner?
Patience,
What motivates you the most?
my family, my kids.
Who is your favorite person that has ever interviewed you?
This is becoming a good one.
Yes, that's the trick question. There you go. Good. You answered that the same as last person. That's so funny.
Hey.
All right, so that's Ryan Ellis. We know a little bit about him more. So let's go right into it. Can you tell us a little bit about your background and how you grew up? Did you grow up in a Christian home? Did you always love music? When did you start songwriting? All the things, because you write a lot of music from what I've seen.
Yeah, I've been writing pretty much my whole life. I used to have a typewriter, and I when I was a kid, and I used to make up stories, and I used to write little poems and different things like that when I was younger, and so I started writing really like at a young age, and then for the past couple of years, I was a songwriter in Nashville before I became an artist, and so I've been writing with other artists, and now they're releasing those songs, and so everything's kind of like compounding. It's like it's
Yeah.
been really cool. So yeah, I've been an artist since 2015. I started releasing music in 2015. So I have a couple albums that are already released before this project that I just released. But yeah, and I'm still ready to make some more. I still got some songs that are ready to come out. So
Did you grow up in a Christian home? Were you always a Christian? Was that always I know I read you have a lot of like R&B influences, and you can feel that in your music and stuff, but did you grow up as a Christian?
I grew up knowing like God was something. I remember my mom taking me to like a Sunday, like a kids Sunday program or something like that when she was going to the main service, and it's like very very foggy, very spotty, like when it actually dawned on me, like oh, I had an understanding of God. But it was because I was just talking about this with somebody else. It was like I knew God was real, or that there was something like that. It wasn't, even when I was younger, but I always just felt like I'm young. Like I don't have to like follow these rules right now. Like I don't even know what church is or anything. But it wasn't until I was older, I was probably like 16 years old with a group of friends, that I went to a church, like it was called the Rock Church in San Diego, Pastor Miles McPherson, and that's when I was like, oh, this is like a real thing. Like this is a lifestyle. This is an invitation, a walk. And that's kind of when it really changed in my brain and my heart. 16.
Oh, wow. That's awesome, because I feel like you could probably be like an R&B artist or any other type of artist, but you chose to sing for God and still have, those implemented in your music. But what made you decide, no, I want to sing for God and the gift that he gave me?
Well, I lived a life, I lived a full life, it feels like, um, before I was a believer, like I had experienced the world in such a crazy way, growing up without a dad, being an older brother, being poor. We grew up, single mom, welfare, lines and getting evicted, and then, you know, drugs, fighting, getting arrested, heartbreak, everything, and then when I got into the military and then I saw humanity kind of in a different way,
Mhm.
my spirit was really just like, I've seen it all, you know? I've seen it all and I've done it all. When I was younger, I did performance at the highest levels of many different, different things. I was a hip hop dancer, and then I was also in acting, and I don't know, something about when I met God, it was like, this is bigger than all that, you
Mhm.
know?
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter at the end of the day. All this
Yeah.
stuff, the clothes that we wear, the cars that we drive, like everything is gonna fade away. The
Yeah.
relationship we're in, the things that we really think, and we think like that's what the meaning of life is, and it's really, that's where you get twisted. And when you kind of understand what the gospel is, and you understand, it's kind of like being awakened, because I was like in a very dark place. I was like coming back from Afghanistan. I was I was heartbroken, and I didn't really know how to make sense of the world, or make sense of like what my purpose was, or what because I never was taught these things growing up either. So my emotional awareness and understanding was so off. But the gospel brings it back into like, really the meaning of life is to like love, you
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
is learn to love well. And how do you do that, And what's a good example? Well, it's this guy Jesus,
That's
And
good.
it's love is patient, love is kind, holds no records of wrong, endures all things, hopes to the end, And when you have that in mind, and you have that, like, that constitution, you're unoffendable, and you have a better awareness of how you can serve the people around you, because it's not what you get from them, is but what you can give to them. And then you see in return, that's like, it's just like a cycle, But for a long time, I was like, I came to the church because I was super broken. So I didn't understand that, I was just like, I was grabbing from a lot of people, grabbing from the pastor, grabbing from prayer groups, trying to like feel even the hole that you feel like you're there thinking you're getting Jesus. But it's like, until you learn how to serve, you just like, you're not getting it, So that's kind of what that's what made it different for me for gospel music, is like, and singing music for God, is like, everything else feels like vanity,
Mhm.
So this is eternal, and it's also not like, and there's some days I don't feel like that. Like, I'm saying it now and it sounds kind of cool, but it's like, sometimes I ask myself the same question. Why are you doing this? Why are you singing in this genre when it's such a small genre, and it's so hard to be creative because you can't, it's like, it's a slow moving ship, people think still like people are like, you know, really demons. I don't know. It's like a weird thing, like, I don't know. Like a over, it's like the Salem witch trials out here, like that type of mentality. So it makes it hard for people who are creative to be in this genre, because God is creativity and God is bigger than, what we can even imagine. So what I would say is why I chose this is because it's a calling. It's like what I partnered with God on. It's like a conversation, that I've had for over a decade now, of like, I'm trusting in faith that, this music has an impact, and it opens the doors for maybe other people like me, or, and I know that these songs help me in my time, none of this was really strategized or planned. You know, I kind of just picked this guitar up. You know, I'm looking at this guitar. I just picked this guitar up and I just started playing it. You know, and and after I had like felt real love, you know, felt like there was more to life than what I thought, and then and then and then put me here, and I'm still trying to figure that one out too. You know, trying to keep just pressing in faith.
That's so good. Thanks for sharing that. I know I read when I was reading your bio, which if you haven't gotten to his website, you really should, because your bio is really great on there. You share a lot of stuff. So, I mean, but I did read that, you know, in 2019, songwriting became a healing process for you and your family, you and your wife, Cassie. I know you guys experienced something pretty traumatic. Would you be willing to share that with us, kind of what you went through and how songwriting helped you through that, but also God? And I also read the relationships that you were able to build and gain through the loss of what you experienced.
Yeah, we you know, so this last album I just released, a lot of it is our songs wrapped around this last season with our son that passed away. His name was Asa Jackson Ellis, and he was born with a genetic disorder that was unforeseeable. And my wife is a gangster. She is just like amazing woman of God, and she just like it's like all naturopathic, you know, holistic. And we did you know, all of our kids have been home births, and you know, my wife is amazing too, in just the way that she got checkups, she takes care of her body, you know, and like, and this was such a rare syndrome. We couldn't, you know, it was you couldn't even tell, even with any of the other scans they do. So it was really unforeseeable. And I've caught all my babies when they came out, you know, and so he comes up out of the water, and you could see that he looked a little different, you know. You could tell it was a syndrome, you know. And I knew it was like, this doesn't look like Down syndrome, but something's not right here. And so the whole event went to the NICU. The doctors didn't know what it was at first, and then we were just there for a week trying to figure it out. And then we finally landed that it's SAE3 chosen, which is a rare genetic disorder. Basically, just not everything was developed all the way, you know? So he had a cleft palate, he had a fused skull, no soft spot on the skull. So, and then he needed a feeding tube and oxygen. There's just so many things, you know, and there's so many things that are going through your head, you know, when it's all happening. You're kind of just like, you know, mission was to just try to take care of baby, you know, make sure baby's doing okay. And then we lived in that NICU for like a year, you know, off and on. We lived, you know, and God just showed little miracles, you know, and that's kind of like what kept us going, were these little things, these little miracles that were, you know, like even this house that we're in right now, you know, we were living in a back house, and we were content with it. It was just me, my wife, and my oldest son. You know, he was 3 at the time, and it was 800 square feet. You know, we were good. But then when this homie came on board, you know, he had to have his own bedroom. We had a home nurse. You know, it was oxygen tanks and machines everywhere, and it was like, you know, such a small space. And then the landlord kicked us out because she had to move in her nephew, who was having some hard times. You know, she didn't kick us out, I'm sorry, but she was like, you guys have to find somewhere else to live, because my nephew's, you know, got drug problems and he needs a place to stay, so he needs that back house. Hey, Coco. Okay, I'll be in there just a second. Okay, baby. You want to say hi real quick? Okay, come say hi real quick, and then I got to finish this, okay? Here. Say hi. This is my son, Koa.
Hi, how are you?
Good? All right. Go back inside, and I'll see you in just a second. And he So we were looking for another spot, and so this spot was right down the street, and we live right next to the Chalk Hospital. So we needed to be somewhere close because we saw 17 specialists a week. So this spot was triple the size, and the landlords, they were believers, and we actually, my wife drove past it and she talked to the landlords, and they're it was actually tenants here, but they're like, you should write to them. And she wrote our whole thing on the back of the application. They had a meeting with us and they were in tears, and they're like, we feel like God is saying we're supposed to help you guys, and you guys are supposed to have this house. And so that was a miracle in itself, and we still, and just like little things like that, and then you get bad news, and then you get good news, um and then he passed away. He made it to his year birthday. They didn't say he was going to make it a week, but he made it to his year birthday. And then we got a call, and they said that his heart was failing because his pulmonary veins were deteriorating, and so his body stopped receiving food. His heart was overworking. He was getting super super skinny. And they said that he had probably like a couple more months to live. And the thing that just that I'll take back from all that is that me and my wife, we were vulnerable with each other. We communicated with each other through everything, and just trusted God too. That, and there's those things that you learn that you do with God, and maybe, and there's nobody else can really fully understand the stuff that you go through. You really get that depth with God when you have to go through the hard times, and you can, and so that's why, I feel like we were able to make some of the decisions that we needed to make because we really trusted God, and knowing in our, who He is, and identity, and and love, and so He was home on hospice, and the day he passed away, actually, I was singing at another baby's funeral. I got invited to sing at this funeral for this little baby who passed away in the middle of the night. And I remember I was up all night. We were up all night with Asa because his oxygen levels were super low, and he was crying, and he was unconsolable. And it was like 4 o'clock in the morning. And I remember I have to be at this church by 6. And I was like, I'm not going to do this. Am I going to do this right now? And I could see even Asa, he had changed some color. I was like, not sure. Every time I left the house, leading up to that, it was like, it could happen. It could happen now, And I remember God saying, this would be a fresh offering, to do this thing, to go to this funeral, to be with this family who just lost their baby, sing the song that they wanted me to sing, and just serve them, be loved. And so I went, did the thing, cried my eyes out. And I hadn't really cried that whole year, cried maybe a couple times, but I held it real down, but it was like a full send, just like, wow, I was really feeling it all. And then I came home after that, and then it was just like, I don't even know. It felt like I was walking into like a cloud, just like, my house felt like the presence of God was surrounding, and I didn't even know why. But I look at my son, and he had a full face mask of oxygen. So my wife was like, his oxygen levels are really, really low. And it felt like it was getting close, and there's no way to know, it was just like we felt it in the spirit. And then my wife, we're holding him, we put some worship music on, and we're just praying over him. We're thanking him, and for fighting so hard, and for being amazing. And my wife says, you don't have to fight anymore. You can go be with Jesus, baby. And then he took 5 breaths and then he passed right there in our arms, like just little things like that, where it was like, God is, you know, he's been looking out for us and he's been giving us these little things. Um, and then, and then a month later I signed this record deal and I started writing songs, to try to figure out all these things that I was feeling, and, for the people that are watching this, you can obviously see that I'm not like fully healed from it. This is not like an overnight thing. Mm-hmm. And I wrote these songs, went on tour, and promoed, did the radio thing, did everything, because I felt like God said, this is what we doing. This is what we doing next. And I also felt like I didn't want to make future decisions with now emotions. And I knew that pain heals, and that this was the time to do it. And that's what God was calling me into. And so that's what my message is for, through all of that. When people ask me, like, what did you learn through all of that? And I learned compassion, I learned grace, I learned that people are hurting. And it takes time. And it's not like a boom, you healed. I think that's the most detrimental thing in Christianity, in this thing of whatever is happening right now in Christian community. People thinking it's like an overnight thing. It's a miracle. People are wanting that miracle so bad because they don't want to go through process. Mm-hmm. They don't want to go through hardship. They don't want to have to go to I have to come back to Jesus and I have to say, can you heal this again? Because you know why? This generation is a bunch of like run away from your pain type people. Mm-hmm. And it's there. Pain is there. It's always going to be there. That's the reminder. I cannot remember my son without remembering the pain. Mm. I cannot. And it wouldn't do him justice. It wouldn't do my son justice if I didn't feel the pain every time I thought about my son.
I'm so sorry for what you guys went through.
Yeah.
Appreciate you opening up and showing people, that you're real, you're human, and the things that we go through and we struggle. And, I also read, though, the relationships that you were able to gain through that with your dad. I know he didn't come into your life until you were 20, but you were able to kind of build that after you lost your son. Was that helpful for you? Do you think because of that was why you guys were able to build this relationship, or what led to that?
God is real. God is real. That's it. That's all I know. God is real. For whoever is watching this, God is real. And if you need faith, just like, no, look at my testimony. Look at what I came from the streets, and I'm still figuring it out. My dad came back in the picture when I was 20. Like, I didn't grow up with a father, and God said, all I can say is that God told me these things, because I'm not like an intelligent man. I don't have it put together, as you can see. Carrie, you don't have to even put this out. I feel like this is more like a conversation for me and you. Like, I don't even know, like these interviews, these people, like, but it's real. These are real things that I've been through, yeah. And my dad, it took about 10 years for me and him to really get really close, and there was times where it felt like I didn't know if I was going to be able to keep this relationship up or whatever. It's just like, felt like some random homie, like later on in my life that I'm just getting to know, and like this facade of fathers and mothers. And it's like, I had to like really train my mind to see things differently, and then 10 years later, this homie's saved. Now he's like, knows God, and comes in that night when my son passes away. He starts prophesying over me and my wife, talking about, and like felt like the mouthpiece of God, you know, like. So I don't know. I don't know how to explain all that. You know, those are just things that I see, I can feel, you know. I'm like, how do you explain this? How do you explain any of this?
Yeah.
I used to play guitar in a coffee shop, you know, after I got back from Afghanistan. And now, you know, these homies, they're wanting me to talk on the radio and different things. I'm like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's tough. I really appreciate you sharing, being vulnerable. And this is what, you know, I really want the show to be about, is getting to know artists on a deeper level and what they go through, and humanizing, you know, you're human. We're going to take a quick break and we will be right back with Ryan Ellis. All right. We are back with Ryan Ellis. We are going to continue and we're going to lighten it up.
Yeah, we're back. I'm in the sun now.
Yeah,
See, rule number one, get more sun.
Now we have this nice background. First, you got to see him in his studio. Now you get to see, you're getting the day in the life right here with
Straight up.
day in the life. All right. So we're going to light it up. We got the, you know, we're going to let everyone dry their tears.
Got the sad stuff out now, yeah. Guys. It's
so
all out. So you gotta get it out, and then you can, now you're free.
Now you're free. And now we're gonna play a little game. Okay, you're gonna be my test subject for this. I've had this idea to do with artists that I have on the show, and I haven't got to do it yet. So, from what I've seen, you've written most, if not all, or at least co-wrote songs that you've released, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Every single one, yeah.
We're gonna test that. And
okay.
I do a little segment called Name Your Song.
Oh.
Literally only going to give you 2 lines. That's it. Because that's all I wrote down. So I won't be able to give you more. And you're only going to have, you know, like 5 to 7 seconds to try to give me your answer. We're going to test this. See how quick you are. You got to name your song. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I have 6 of them here. So we're going to start with the first one. I cast my case at your feet, knowing you won't let me down.
Oh, that's Perfect Peace.
Yeah, good. Yeah. That's good. All right, next one. Who can send the mountain to the sea? Who can tell the captive to go free?
The Answer.
Good job. Okay, next one. The joy of every generation, the hope of every tribe and nation.
It's the Joy. Is that Christmas song? Joy of every generation, yeah.
Is that called Unto Us?
Unto Us, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Did we stump you?
Christmas song, okay. Is that Unto Us.
Next one. I need a savior. I need a miracle right now.
Savior?
Yep. All right, next one. You are the one who loved me first, and it's in your love I find my worth. Love this one, by the way.
Simple Truth.
Yeah. I listened to that for the first time doing this. Love that song.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. This last one I would think should be easy. Every day and every hour, because your spirit guides me.
Hey, to the heart of the Father.
Yeah. If you haven't heard it, go check it out. All right. Well, that went pretty well. Okay.
That was a good list. That was a great list.
Oh, good. I was trying to, you know, mix it up there a little bit. That's good. And now people know some of the names of your songs, so they can go listen to them.
Yes.
All right, so update us. What's been going on in your life now for the last year or so? What's been going on?
Well, we had a new baby. We have a 2-year-old now. So we have a 6-year-old, we have a 2-year-old, and we have a 4-month-old. And I just got off tour. I was on tour with We Are Messengers. And then I got off that tour a little early because my wife was super prego. And I just felt it. I was like, man, she's going to pop any minute now. And so I was like, I got to stay here. It was a hard decision, but stayed home. And then literally like a week later, she gave birth to our baby boy, Zayo King. And we've just been in that, you know, we've been in baby mode, getting used to 3. I've been writing a ton. I was just out in Nashville just a couple weeks ago, doing some writing, doing some label meets, and getting some really good news. And everyone's really excited. Last year was one of, I mean, I've been doing music for almost my whole life, basically, but professionally, um, since 2015 is when I released my first album.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I released my album last year, that was my first real official release. So it's been a good year for being a debut album. And then, it's just, so I've been also doing stuff with House Fires, and that's been like, some really good friends over the years. So it really made sense just to partner with them and do some projects. And, so I've been doing some stuff with them as well, and some awesome opportunities. Was on Fox and Friends
Wow.
a couple weeks ago on their morning show, and that was just crazy. I mean, all my aunts and uncles were like, "I saw you on the morning news," like they're all tripping out. And I mean, it was really cool. I mean, it's kind of still like surreal, just like these little things, these accolades, or these really cool moments. I try to really soak them in. We did an arena tour last year with Maverick City. And I was in the Staples Center, and I was just like, what? This is crazy. The crypto center now. But it's just trippy just to be in these places like where people have done great things, So
Oh.
and really feeling like God is, that's like kind of these things, God will just show, I feel like I'll get these like images in my brain, like Madison Square Garden, playing my acoustic. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I don't know how I'm gonna get there, and then it happens, So it's like it's just trusting and faith, trusting and also partnering and dreaming, and so now we're working on new music. So I got home, had the baby, I did a trip to Hawaii. Been doing these really fun kind of shows where I get to bring the family. We went out to Hawaii. There was a guy who reached out, and it's been a total God thing, the whole setup out there. And so I was able to bring my family and some friends, and then do some worship nights, and then it kind of makes up for all the all the hard times not being able to see them. And then now I've just been in project mode. So now I'm working on songs, writing, and that's a whole different ball game. That's like getting back in my Rolodex, and then getting back into creative mode, searching deep in my heart. Like, what am I really, what's my conversation with God like? And how do I say,
Mm-hmm.
like, how do I say something fresh? We all know it's out there. We know what's been said, but this is my walk with God. This is my conversation. And if this is what people are wanting to see, then I got to make sure that it's real. I got to make sure it's real. And I got to make sure that not only for that, but for me as well, so it is like a really amazing opportunity. I think that maybe not a lot of people get to, where it's like, I have to really dig deep, I get to dig deep. I get to dig deep and find out what my true conversation is. And, but then also, how do I dish that out? Not everybody should get the full 100% real, it's not time for that. Sometimes they need to hear some nice things, some fire off questions before they get the whole baby testimony.
That's right.
That's how it is. We're all mamas and daddies out here. You got to figure out what the little kiddies can have. Can they eat dairy? Can they have gluten? No, they got skin allergies. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So.
Well, good. Well, so what's next for you? Are you going to be releasing an album anytime soon this year? Are you going to be going on tour? What can your fans expect from you coming up in 2023?
Well, we just have that live album that just came out, which is amazing. Have you heard it? The new live one? There's a new live Ryan Ellis album out.
It may have been. I've listened to a lot of your stuff to get ready for this. So whatever's
on
Spotify, I just listened to it all.
Oh yeah. So if you go to Spotify, it's the one that has the like kind of purplish, you'll see me with my hair like this, but it's like, it's a live record, and that is kind of like my whole vision, because and just full transparency, I come from my original birthplace of like introduction of worship, and me, it was like in a coffee shop singing spontaneously and crying out to the Lord and creating that, and that's all nice, and I think that's really great. And I feel like God showed me a lot. I learned a lot through that, and I think there's people who do that are really amazing. You know, there's people who do that still. There's people who got Upper Room, you got Bethel, you got all these different churches that do these types of expressions, right? Mm-hmm. I feel like what God's really shown me, especially with this live album, is like it's okay for me to be who I am. It's okay to, you know, tap into those things that inspired me. You know, I grew up listening to R&B, hip hop, pop music, you know, like top Billboard top, 100, that was my bread and butter because I was a singer and a song and just loved good music. And so I'm kind of going back into that. It's like, how do I deliver these songs that I feel like are worship to me and that you can worship to, but then how do I have a good time when I'm on stage, So the live videos that we're releasing too showcase that a little bit, just like what the live shows are going to look like. It's more of just like a relaxed atmosphere. Come enjoy yourself. Come sit down, stand up. You know what I'm saying? Bump, bump, da dong, 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 dong. Hey, how we feeling on the night? Yeah. You want to worship the Lord? And we got some solos going. I might get a saxophone player up there. You know what I'm saying? It's just about having a good time. I want people to have a good time, and I want to be able to sing the way that I like to sing, and for the musicians to be shined on, and for them to be able to show what God's gifted them in, and people not to be like, is this like a hymn? What's going on here? How many times did you say Jesus' name in the song? This isn't worship. Salem witch trials. And so I'm just saying, this is what I'm trying to do. So enjoy the live album that's coming out. Maybe vibe on that for a little bit, and then I've got some other stuff that's coming out, and I have some ideas. I got some thoughts, so I want to be able to shine light on people. I want to shine some light on some people that are really amazing and that have really influenced me, and love.
For sure. Well, you're an amazing songwriter, so I'm excited to see what is next for you. You have an amazing voice. I've been listening to you a lot. My husband's like, wow, he's got a really good voice. I was like, you know who this is? And so we really enjoyed listening to you. Heart of the Father's just been amazing. And so real quick, what was the story behind Heart of the Father? What inspired that song?
I was living in a town called Isla Vista, California, and it was a college town that's right next to the University of Santa Barbara. And it was a real eye-opening season for me. I came from a very religious background, where I was just like, heathens. Anyone who's partying is a, I'm watching The Last Kingdom. Have you ever watched The Last Kingdom on Netflix?
No, I haven't.
But it's, anyways, about Vikings, Danes and stuff. But, that's like what people think, like people who party are like heathens. It's like, bro, these people are just, they didn't grow up in the church and they're just trying to have a good time. They're just trying to like escape, or they don't understand. Maybe that's not the healthiest lifestyle. It's like, but I was living in the city where we are surrounded. It's 20,000 kids in a square mile radius. And so every Friday we would fire up our grill because everyone's out partying, and we would just hand out hamburgers to all the party kids. It's like a sea of people walking up and down the street, thousands of people. And so we just hand out these hamburgers and be like, bro, God loves you, man. If you pass out, come back over here. Or like, if you need anything, and just being light, in a dark place. It's just like, just being, love, and people aren't really used to that.
Was called Jesus. Was it Jesus Burgers or something like that?
It was called Jesus Burgers. And and so I that really was eye-opening to me, where it was like, revival is gonna come and be stewarded. Revival can come, but revival can only be stewarded with mothers and fathers. And what does a mother and father do? Well, how does a mother and father see people? How does a mother and father react? Love, grace, all that stuff. And I learned that being in a town full of kids, like people throwing up on your couch, people, like, and still learning that today. And now I got my own kids, and that song Heart of the Father means something even different. But it was just like, the song came about, a buddy of mine had the chorus, and then we wrote more verses to it. And it was just our anthem to try to get people geared up to love in a supernatural way.
Mhm.
So
I love that. That's awesome. I love the Jesus Burgers things. I did see that on your bio. That's awesome. And I grew up pretty legalistic too. So like when you say like people are like, that's not a hymn, that's how I grew up was you did not even listen to Christian contemporary. That was like of the devil, any Christian
yeah,
contemporary, they're living
people
for the
like
devil,
think
you know?
Christian contemporary is the devil. Just
Yes.
imagine them knowing that I'm like writing with legit pop artists out in LA. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's not it's but that's a big ship. That's a big ship to turn. But it is. There is an understanding of God, Jesus, righteousness, holiness, living this way so that people can see, that it makes sense that what you're saying, it's all language. It's just language. And I think people are living in the Lord of the Rings era still, they're like, are talking as if like, what I'm saying? But we live in the 20th century and this is like real. These are real human beings. These are real people. And how do you love them? How do you see them? How do you understand grace? How do you know what I'm saying? Like when I see somebody and you can see maybe someone who's like a little different, they look rough around the edges or whatever. I'm not like, oh my gosh, this person, I hope they know Jesus Christ. I'm like, or even if they don't, and I know they don't, and I feel like they got some tendencies that are a little wild or out there, I learned how to talk to people and then be like, oh, you grew up with an abusive dad? Oh, you grew up with performance? Oh, you grew up with a lot of money? Oh, you grew up with like a bunch of brothers and sisters, so you never got highlighted. So this is why you're doing. It's not that, you know what I'm saying? There's like family trauma. There's people trauma. Trauma is the reason why a lot of people are the way they are, and a lot of Christians don't make it any better. That's my.
It's so true.
So.
One of the things I love about Christian contemporary music, though, is that you have all of these different artists. Like, you have Colton Dixon, you have Torn Wells, you have Skillet, you have Disciple, and who all reach different people. And you all reach different people, reach people that I could never reach, or reach, people that a Southern gospel group could never reach. And that's what I love about the beauty of the freedom of Christ is that it allows you to be who you are and show and still have Jesus shine through you and reach people where they're at. And also for them to feel like, oh, like I'm okay to be here as I am. And I don't have to look a certain way or dress a certain way. And I feel like being at Christian concerts, I've felt more of the Holy Spirit than I ever have growing up. So I totally understand where you're coming from there. And I appreciate what you're doing and that you are just still so you and raw and just real. And you just opened up to us. And I just think this is going to be a blessing to so many people. So
Well,
where people...
thank you for what you do too, because it's people like you that make people like that give people like me the ability to do what I do and all the fans. And that's why, stuff like this, it's like it's a teamwork. You're doing your part, I'm doing my part, you know what I'm saying? All the listeners and the watchers and views are doing their parts, liking and sharing and reposting these types of things, and that's how you make change. You know what I'm saying? A lot of times it feels like you can just be swinging and making, hitting a noisy gong, but teamwork makes the dream work. So thank you everybody out there for supporting and listening to my music as well.
Yeah. So where can people find you? And I mean, your website and your social media platforms, where are you at?
Yep. So you can go to ryanellismusic.com and you can find all my information there, upcoming shows, releases, merch store. And then you can go to my Instagram, which is just Ryan Ellis. You should see the blue check mark. And that's what's crazy too, man. People have been like making these like fake accounts. I'm like, man, and they got even more followers than I do. I'm like, oh, what are they doing? So yeah, you'll see me. You'll know mine. Mine has a blue check mark. And then I'm also on TikTok. I think it's Ryan Ellis Music and yeah, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, on all those platforms. So
all right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And like I said, opening up and just being real with everyone. And everybody go check him out. If you haven't heard his songs, his music, go check him out. Follow him on Instagram, follow him on social media. I'm sure you're going to be seeing a lot more of him. So Thank you for watching Abundant TV and carry on. And until next time, carry on.